Alrighty then, hey everyone, Animal Man here. How is it going? Welcome back to another episode of these tutorials for the level designer of Super Mario 63. In this episode we're going to be covering items. Last episode we covered tiles. There's going to be two parts to the items. There's going to be one on the general items, and then there's going to be one on enemies. That'll be the next episode. But anyway, there's three little sections here. I don't feel like they're amazingly organized, but they're here, and we're going to take a look at pretty much all of them if we can. So let's get right to it. The tiles are the foundation of the world, the platforming, and then we have the items. This is pretty self-explanatory, the first one that we see here. There can only be one, and it's where Mario starts, and you can control completely where he starts at all times. Next up we have the coin. A lot of time when people are making levels they forget about the coins, but coins are very useful for the player, and it's good not to forget about them all the time. Putting them in groups of 5 are always cool because that regenerates 1 health. There is always enemies to attack too, so keep that in mind when getting coins. Red coins, I'll get to that in a second. Blue coins, that'll restore a lot of health. It's worth 5 coins, but it heals more than what 5 regular coins would, so keep that in mind. Red coins heal 1 HP, so that's worth noting. They are worth 2 coins, and normally red coins are, you have a 8 red coin challenge, and you can do that. You can do that very easily. You can stick 8 red coins around, and you can do whatever you want with them. But you're not limited to just 8 red coins. You can just have 1 red coin, or you can have 100 red coins. It doesn't matter. The same applies to the silver stars. Normally there's 5 silver star challenge. You can have as many as you wish to have. So that's worth noting. Now here we have the shine sprite, and this is of course how the player is going to beat the game. Now if we were to place this down and test course, it would be here, and we can go ahead and grab it right here, and we'd have win the level. Now if we were to place down either a red coin or a silver star, and then we were to test it, you'd see it'd be grayed out until I received this red coin, and then it would reappear. So that's also worth noting. So anyway, that's those. Now we get into some platforms, and platforms are very interesting. When you place it down, you see sort of a little hologram as to what the platform is going to do, and you can edit exactly what it's going to do, and there's a ton that you can do, so let's get into it. First of all, we have this little play button that shows exactly what it's going to do. If we were to increase the speed, it only goes up to 9. If we were to increase that, it goes really far. And then this is how far it goes, I do believe. Offset, I think that this would yes, this right here would cause it to go diagonally. So it's kind of flipping out over there. But you can mess with these all you want as far as that goes. Acceleration, etc. As well as these. You can make the platforms bigger. And then you can make it a touch and go. And what the touch and go does is you step on it. It's stationary until you step on it, and then it goes. Always remember to hit apply. That sometimes happens, and anyway, this platform's kind of wonky. It's a step and go, so I'll step on it. It'll be stationary until I step on it, and then it'll go because I hit that step and go button. Next up we have the circle platforms, and these circle platforms are pretty self-explanatory. This doesn't exist, only these 2 platforms rotating around do exist in the game. We can make 9 platforms if we wanted. and then we can increase the radius to be bigger, and then we can do that, and there's this. You can mess around with that all you want. These are kind of interesting. I'm going to put this right in the middle here. That's basically what it's going to do. So they're rotating blocks, and there's different kinds, there's different textures you can play around with. The Thromp one is probably the only way that you're able to make an active Thromp, because you can't actually make these things move. You can keep them from moving up and down and whatnot. You can increase the speed, so that's for moving, but rotation speed is let's bring it up to 9, and let's put this down to 0, and let's see if that makes it. So that makes the actual rotation speed quicker. But then we have the waiting time, and the waiting time, if we were to make that like 20, it would be spinning all the time. We can of course adjust the size to make it even bigger, and you can change which direction you want it to go, so on and so forth. So that's that. Next up we have these little platforms. These are not tiles, but you can walk on them, so that's something. And then we have these. They are the logs that look very similar. In fact, they look exactly the same when playing the game, but they do drop when you step on them, and they drop very quickly as well. These are like the tipping log. They're called tipping log, but they're like balance beams, where if Mario's on this side, it'll tilt towards this side. If Mario's on this side, it'll tilt toward that side. And there's different sizes up to this. I'm going to get to this now. These are floating blocks, and essentially what they do is, if there is water, these will float on the water, and Mario can walk on them. They will also interact with the water. I'll show you water in a minute. These are rotating platforms. You can have an extra sized one if you'd wish. You can also change them at different angles. So if it's exactly 90 degrees, then they're going to be 90 degrees apart. Unless you change up the speed, then one's going to be going faster, so on and so forth. You can play with that. We have 2 clocks here. They're both going at different paces, so you'll see one starts on one side and one starts on the other. We have this. You can walk on, I just tried to point at it with my hand. You can walk on this part. You cannot walk on this. I think maybe you can walk on this, but I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm going to try and test that out. And then this is just the opposite direction. And these, of course, are triangles that rotate. Pretty self-explanatory. You can adjust the speed and stuff. This is a pretty common platform seen in the Mario series. They're essentially a platform that Mario can start from below and jump above through it and land on it. That goes for a lot of these. So these you can jump through, as well as the clouds. There's many different kinds of clouds. There's up to this size, and you can stack them together. Let's go ahead and add the water. The water is very different from lava, actually. So we're going to go ahead and stick that right there. Water doesn't have to make sense at all. There doesn't have to be a wall here. It looks nicer if there's a wall there, but there doesn't have to be. And you can kind of adjust and move it wherever you'd like. You can adjust the length or the depth to your desire. You can also rotate it, which is really weird. And if you really want a funky world, you can do that all you want. We're going to take a look at this. What you can do with these, there's sling stars. You can angle them if you wish. And then you can bring the speed, and the speed is basically going to determine how far Mario goes when he uses the sling star. Finally, we have a door, and doors work really weird. I'm actually gonna bring one out here just so you can see. You'll see there's a little X there. Now if I drag this out a little bit, you'll see that the X stays there, but the door moves. Essentially what goes on here is wherever the X is, when Mario goes in the door, Mario will come out where this X is. So in this case, if Mario goes in the door, he's going to pop out right here. Now normally, what people will do is they'll take two doors, and they'll drag one there, and then they'll drag one, separate them here, there, and you'll see we have a two-way door. You can also choose different frames. So if I wanted 4, I could have that kind of door. But yeah, essentially what's going to happen here is Mario's going to walk into this door and come out of that door, and if he walks into this door, he'll come out of that door. The same kind of thing goes for pipes. There's two different kinds of pipes. There's either warp pipes or non-warp pipes, and then there's the base for the warp pipe that you can extend it. No warp, and there's this warp. So if I were to drag that out like that, and then stick this right there, Mario would go in this pipe, come out of this one, or it would come out of this one and go out this pipe. One of the things that people like to do is, with these pipes especially, is you can take a pipe like that, you can take a non-warp pipe, rotate it all the way, and 180, stick it like this, which actually does seem weird unless you... Could you hit mirror? I think you could. Yes, you could just hit mirror. I've made that way more complicated than it needs to be. But what happens is you take... This is a non-warping pipe, and you stick the pipe right here. The X remains there, and so then you have a pipe that when you go into that, it leads to the outside of this, and you can't return back into that. You can only go into pipes if you can stand on them. So, oh yes, this is pretty important. Let's see here. I'm gonna stick this somewhere, I guess. I'm gonna stick you right there. If you don't know what this is, you'll see in just a second. So here's my level. It's really crazy. I don't understand it at all. So if I come in this door, it's a little buggy, but it works. Where's my stir? I think the Thromp is guarding the stir. Oh well. Falling platforms, stuff, chicken, nugget, biscuits. And it's running pretty smoothly, except I can't get out of this. Alright, there's my floating water. I'm gonna go down this pipe, and I come out there. Sweet. There's my floating platforms. You'll see that they kind of interact with the water. And if you remember that line that we placed, that basically separates the two areas of the map. So, that's pretty neat. We're not quite done with this episode, though, because we still have some things in here to talk about. Not the enemies, but if we go down here, there's signs. And there's a bug where it'll randomly select things. It's annoying. But you can type whatever you want on this sign. Perfect. And then when Mario comes up to it and hits it, he can read. We've discussed this a little bit already in the last episode. This is related to a special block in interactive. This switch controlled block. This is essentially a block that is invisible and uninteractive to Mario until he pushes this button. And you can control how long this stays visible by hitting the switch and adjusting the duration. So there's that. Going back down here, we have water. I want to say that, yeah, see, it randomly selects. It's kind of annoying. I want to say that this restores 25% of flood and this restores 50% of flood. 1-ups are kind of useless in the level designer. They are honestly very useless because you already have an infinite number of lives. And it's kind of annoying because every time you lose or die, you're brought back to the level designer screen, and so you already have 4 lives, so there's really no point in having these at all. But that's okay. You can still put it in there for bonus points. Next we have various power-ups that I've described in my walkthrough. We have the wing cap, invisibility cap, metal cap, and invincibility cap, and I am pretty sure that you can have all of them at once if you want. Then here are the floods. If you want Mario to have the flood right off the bat, a common theme is just to stick it right underneath where he spawns so that he gets it immediately. But if you want Mario to work for the flood, you can always do that too. And that goes for all these floods. Once he has access to them, though, he has access to them for good. Also keep in mind that you can refill your flood with water, not just water bottles. So if you want water to be an issue for your level, and you want that to be a bit more of a challenge for Mario, then try to limit your water. That's pretty much it for here. Looking over here, most of this is completely decoration. This is background stuff. Mario cannot interact with it. A common thing that I see a lot is they'll take a little platform. I'm going to have you growing right on top of this. They'll take a little platform and then they'll do that or something to try and cover it up and make it seem like you can walk on the tree in certain situations. You may actually be able to walk on this tree anyway. I don't remember though. But this is completely background. This is not. You can walk on the log. You can also walk on the mushroom. You can't walk on the mushroom stalk. But you can walk on the mushroom. So there's that. Vines are background. This you can walk on. You can definitely walk on that. Rocks. All rocks you can walk on. And don't worry, if you go ahead and click on this, you'll see that it kind of, if you're OCD about the rocks being in front of that and it looking unnatural, don't worry about it. It's just highlighting all the items so that you get a good idea of where they are. Next up we have arrows. They're very self-explanatory. These arrows I do believe only appear when you receive one of the items. So if you get an invisibility star, this will appear. If you get a metal star, that will appear. Fences are completely inactive to the character as well, and that is pretty much all that I have to say for this episode. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all later. Take care, and goodbye.